A very good evening and a hearty welcome to all who are present today. I welcome you all to the inauguration of the second batch of the postgraduate program in digital governance and management at IIM Vishakhapatnam, a one of its kind and first ever degree program on digital governance in India. I welcome our chief guest, Secretary MeitY, Shri Ajay Sahni, President and CEO NEGD, Shri Abhishek Singh, members of our board, the esteemed DGM Program Advisory Committee members, members present here who have helped us all through in the interview process, the interview panel, the members of CII and AP Chamber of Commerce, expert faculty members connected to the program, students of the PGP DGM program, and members of the IIM Vishakhapatnam family. At the outset, let me congratulate the freshers for joining this unique program at IIMV. Given the fact that this is an extremely niche area, the decision to pursue a degree program in digital governance and management is a laudable step to begin with. This program is encouraged, guided, and supported by the National E-Governance Division, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. The immense experience derived from their planning and implementation of Digital India, along with the academic rigor of IIM Vishakhapatnam, an institute of national importance, creates just the perfect balance for a new India and a $1 trillion digital economy. And you have chosen to be a part of this journey. So congratulations and welcome aboard. It is an honor to have Shri Ajay Sahni here with us as the chief guest. Shri Sahni belongs to the 1984 batch of IAS. As an officer from the cadre of this very state, that is Andhra Pradesh, as well as in his current capacity as the Secretary to the Government of India in the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, he has been playing an instrumental role in the growth of IT and deployment of successful digital solutions in governance. Shri Sahni has been the strong force of inspiration and mentorship behind practically every digital transformation project that we experience today and benefit from, by way of increased efficiency and improved effectiveness. His initiatives have had a profound and positive impact on business, industry, and the society at large. Shri Sahni deserves rich praise for his vision in public digital platforms. He has been a strong votary of building digital government platforms for the digital economy of the future. In this direction, he has been ably leading many path-breaking and first of their kind digitalization initiatives and guiding the successful implementation of Atmanirbhar digital systems. Development of in-house capacity and capability to drive economic and social development of the country has always been his mantra. And the MBA in digital governance and management is a game-changing endeavor in that direction. If we are inaugurating the second batch of the PGP DGM program today, it is on the strength of his vision, encouragement, guidance, advice, and support. His ideas, inputs, and insights are a driving force for us in furthering the learning outcomes and impact from the program. I formally welcome Shri Sahni, the chief guest for today's function.
Thank you.
We also have Shri Abhishek Singh with us. Shri Singh belongs to the 1995 batch of IAS and has rich expertise and a wealth of experience in policy and practice, especially in implementing development programs and use of technology for improved governance. An alumnus of IIT Kanpur and the famed Harvard University, where he was a Mason Fellow, and through his close connection with many national and multilateral agencies like the World Bank, UNICEF, and WHO, he brings many best practices into the digital governance endeavors of the country. He ably leads the large impact, high visibility initiatives of NEGD and MyGov. As individuals and institutions, We have all been the beneficiaries of the many digital platforms and applications innovated and successfully implemented under the aegis of NEGT and MyGov. Shri Singh chairs the DGM Program Advisory Committee, whose objective is to strengthen the relevance of the program by focusing on its content and contemporaneity. We are therefore fortunate that the DGM program has the benefit of his constant guidance and support. I formally welcome Shri Singh, who will deliver the keynote address for today's function in a short while from now. So welcome, sirs, and welcome everyone else. I now propose that my colleague, Professor Milan Kumar, the admissions chair at IIM Visakhapatnam, introduce the new batch.
Please give me the sharing rights.
Kamal, are you around?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we can share.
Good evening, all. So in my brief presentation, I'll share the batch profile of our current batch, and also we'll make a comparison with how the batch looked like last year. So greetings to all participants and all panel members. So this program has 3 stages in which we ask participants to go through 3 different phases. In first phase, we ask them to fill an online application form. Once they have done this, they can use multiple scores, including CAT, GMAT, GRE, GATE. If they do not have any one of these scores, we ask them to take IMV test, which is an online proctor test. So this year we did it in an online proctored manner because of the pandemic condition. And once they have attended IMV test, we ask them to appear for an online interview. As Professor Nina mentioned in her opening remarks, all the panel members who have interviewed these candidates are present with us right now. And once all these 3 processes are done, we create a consolidated list, which was then shared with MITI. And from all the list, MITI this year decided to sponsor 15 candidates. So 15 candidates come from MITI sponsorship. Another 10 in this batch is self-sponsored candidate. So if you look at the batch profile of last year vis-a-vis this year, so last year we had 22 male and 4 female candidates. This year there's slight percentage improvement in terms of female participation in our program. So there are 20 male candidates and 5 female candidates. Last year the profile was heavily concentrated towards engineering, the batch profile overall. But this year we have little more diverse group, which come from management, engineering, arts, sciences, IT. So this year all faculties will also benefit from teaching to a much diverse group vis-a-vis last year. So last year, the number of participants came from lesser number of states vis-a-vis this year batch, which is little higher, and maximum coming from Rajasthan. So these are 12 states from where all our participants come from. And finally, last year we had work experience on the higher side of 6 to 10 years. There were 2 candidates of around 5 years of work ex, 11 candidates with work experience of 6 to 10 years, and then 14 candidates of work experience above 10 years. So this is last year, and age-wise, most of the candidates were above 40 years. Between 30 and 40 years. This year we see comparatively younger batch, and work experience is also on an average 6 to 10 years for 11 participants and above 10 years for another 11 participants. Age around 18 candidates come from age of less than 40 years. And finally, this is how the organization chart looks like. There are 15 central students who work in central government agencies, 5 from state government, 1 from CPSC, and 4 candidates come from private sector. So this is briefly the batch profile for PGP DGM 2022. Thank you, Professor Nina.
Thank you, Professor Milan, for the information. It helps to know how the batch is changing year on year. I will now call upon our director, Professor Chandrasekhar, to share a few words on the exciting journey that we have had so far in this program. Sir, Professor
Yeah, thank you, Professor Nina. Much admired and respected Secretary, MeitY, Government of India, Shri Ajay Saniji, the chief catalyst behind the path-breaking digital transformation initiatives under NEGD and MyGov that we see, feel, and experience in our everyday lives, Shri Abhishek Singh Ji, distinguished members on our board, esteemed members of the Program Advisory Committee, governing board members of the CII, captains from the industry, leadership from the academia, especially Andhra University, in whose salubrious precincts we are located, patrons and benefactors, friends from the print and electronic media, participants of the PGP DGM program, senior and fresh batches, members of the IIMV family. Let me add my own word of welcome to all of you. Firstly, I must express my sincere gratitude to Secretary Shri Saniji for his presence and participation in this inaugural function. I can imagine the kind of demands on his time and his pressing commitments because of the active engagement of MeitY with several citizen-centric initiatives through the many digital tools and apps, contributing significantly to meeting the welfare and well-being, healthcare and safety needs in these tough and testing times. Sir, you are agreeing to my request to inaugurate this second batch also is a double blessing for us. It's a reflection of your continued encouragement and abiding interest, sir, in the development, growth, and success of this program right from the time of its launch. We at the Institute are much obliged to you, sir. I'm also thankful to Shri Abhishek Singh Ji for accepting my invitation and gracing this occasion. We have benefited much from his thoughts as we progressed in this program, crossing many milestones. His useful interventions have always helped us take this program to greater heights of excellence. Welcome, Shri Singh. Before I proceed to highlight the salient features of the program, I would like to share with this audience, like I did last time, especially with those who are not present during the first batch of the inaugural, an interesting fact about IIM Visakhapatnam. It was Madam Neelam Sahni ji, till recently the Chief Secretary of AP and now the State Election Commissioner, who represented the state government as the then Principal Secretary Higher Education in the first ever meeting held in the Ministry of Education on 28th October 2014 about the establishment of an IIM in Andhra Pradesh and strongly pitched for locating it in Visakhapatnam. The Institute is fortunate to have enjoyed such unstinting support and goodwill at the highest level ab initio. We are happy that we built on those good wishes and strong foundations and are today rated high in the committee of IIMs. I now seek the indulgence of Shri Ajay Saniji and the audience to say a few words about our institute. Sir, we are an institute with a difference. With many firsts to our credit, we have come to enjoy a niche place in the peer group of public funded schools on many performance indicators. In recording such high accomplishments in a short span of 5 years since our inception, sir, we are proud to be following the footsteps of the Digital India program. The various initiatives of the Institute are well thought through and are being supported with cheerful promptness by the Ministry of Education, the enabling state leadership, and our designing board comprising distinguished IIM alumni and eminent persons from the industry, public service, and civil society. I would therefore like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to our chairman, Shri Hari Bhartiya ji, and members on the board for their guidance and ready support. Our faculty cohort brings aboard impressive academic and research credentials from top-notch Indian and global institutions, blended with rich industry experience. The faculty conduct practice-oriented research and publish in high-impact international journals. As an institution of national importance, sir, we are proud of our rich knowledge resources, linkage with apex industry bodies. Many governing body members of the CII are actually attending this event today, and modern digital learning infrastructure conducive to learning outcomes of high impact for on-campus, online, or blended learning programs. We are the only institute in the country, sir, conducting two most prestigious academic programs of long duration. One, this very program, and the other, the Mahatma Gandhi National Fellowship Program of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Again, thanks to the trust and confidence reposed by MeitY in our abilities and commitment, we are the fifth IIM, only the fifth IIM to enjoy the recognition of being granted the Technology Incubation and Development of Entrepreneurship TIDE Center. This center now works as a Section 8 not-for-profit company called as IIMB Field, Foundation for Incubation, Entrepreneurial Learning and Development, to equip aspiring entrepreneurs, especially women, with the knowledge and skill sets to translate their ideas into innovations and help them build and nurture their startups. I am happy, sir, to share that in keeping with the current day requirement of heightened focus on the well-being, 5 out of the 6 startups that we funded out of a total of 123 applications we received under TIDE focus on healthcare, safety, and wellness. With your permission, sir, I would just like to mention that these 5 startups are HEMAC Healthcare Private Limited, all of them working in high-tech areas. HEMAC Healthcare Private Limited attempts to solve the unmet needs in the field of neonatal birth of children, aspects of children. It's an empathy-driven startup which employs design thinking principles. It is at a prototype stage and already has 2 patents. Urban Pod Innovation of Ahmedabad, Gujarat is India's first smart napping pods producing company, already has a marketable prototype and a design patent. In the entrepreneurship in residence category, sir, there are 3 companies: InnovaMac Private Limited, which is at beta stage, which already has 1 patent, which uses machine modularity, IoT, predictive analytics, and pattern recognition to predict machine failures and reduce machine downtime. ProSafe is again a tech-enabled solution, which is actually a digital pill. If consumed by a subject at the time of distress, it can act as a broadcaster of the real-time location of the victim to the emergency contacts. It's an app-based solution, and it also gives a safety score or index of the roads on which women can safely travel. The last one, the third one in the EIR category, is a Snazzy Care Private Limited, an early traction venture, sir. It produces invisible braces using 3D printing and transparent plastics, and extensively uses telemedicine. So these are these 3+2 ventures have actually produced. They have developed 5 new products, are in the process thereof. 3 technology patents are filed. 1 design patent is filed. 3 trademarks are registered. And they are also providing employment readily to quite a few people. They've also won awards like the KPMG Ideation Challenge, and they are winners of Chinauti Challenge, the STPI's Next Generation Incubation Scheme. So our startups are doing well, sir, thanks to the funding support and enabling guidance from the ministry. And guiding us and helping us in this exacting process are persons of eminence like Shri Prasad Dahapute, who is a member and who is a member on our board and is a successful social entrepreneur, and who is a strong technology protagonist himself. And also our process is guided by Professor R.M. Sonar, Professor of Information Systems at IIT Bombay, who is a successful serial entrepreneur, having created ventures of high valuations. Sir, we are much sought after source in the executive education space too, by several departments of Government of India, public and private enterprises of high repute. Our deep understanding of the business environment, industry domains, and market segments finds its reflection in our customized to client and curated course offerings. The pedagogy of our faculty is practice-based, participative, and immersive. Our bouquet of offerings straddles corporate management, technology management, and development management in policy, strategy, leadership, and governance. But the real icing on the cake, sir, is this program, which enhances our pan-India outreach, particularly our collaborative connect with the central and state government functionaries. It gives us the opportunity to build capacities in digital management, innovation, and new knowledge areas essential for an Atmanirbhar New India, and it enables us to contribute better to the realization of national development goals as enshrined in the Indian Institutes of Management Act 2017, with inclusion, equity, social justice, and sustainability as our foundational values. While there might be short-term courses available in the digital domain, this program is a novel, full-fledged, well-structured, comprehensive, and customized offering in blended learning mode. The program benefits immensely from an advisory committee chaired by Sri Abhishek Singh, with significant knowledge input and mentorship coming from him, and two IAS officers, Sri Amod Kumar and Sri Santosh Kumar Mishra from UP and Tamil Nadu cadres respectively, who are not only strong in precepts, but also in the implementation of large-scale digital transformation projects of high impact. Their successes are widely acclaimed. On the advisory committee are also experts like Professor H. Krishnamurthy of Indian Institute of Science, who is here today, and Professor V.N. Shastri of the Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology. Professor Krishnamurthy chairs or is a member of many apex committees in the BFSI domain and has guided immensely the sector in IT networks, IT security, and IT governance areas. Professor Shastri either chairs or is a member of the many project review and steering groups of MeitY, and is also the chairman of the expert committee on mobile governance standards constituted by MeitY. And finally, I would like to say that the program is in the safe pair of hands of Professor Neena Pandey, an alumna from IIT Kanpur, IIT Madras, and IIM Bangalore. And she has high achievements in teaching, research, and academic administration to her credit, built on strong foundations of corporate experience of about a decade in the US and India, and 2 US patents reflecting her high accomplishments. She is also aided by colleagues like Professor Milan, who introduced the program profile, who is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta with proven strengths in operations and analytics. This program, sir, has both rigor and relevance appropriate for working professionals and practitioners at both strategic and operational levels. It has both width and depth of coverage in terms of core and elective subjects. With a judicious combination of system skills, soft skills, and social skills, the program builds strong proficiencies in digital governance and management. We are positive, sir, with such deep and long-lasting learning, graduates from this program will lead and catalyze as champions of and agents of change the success of digital transformation projects. I quote from the select speeches of our Honorable PM when he said, on many occasions, the pace at which people are taking to digital technologies defies demographics. That is the stereotypes of age, education, gender, language, occupation, or income. In this digital age, we have the opportunity to transform the lives of people in ways that was hard to imagine a couple of decades ago. I therefore see technology as a means to empower and as a tool that bridges the distance between hope and opportunity. Our Honorable Union Minister for Law and Justice, Electronics and IT, Sri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, has often described the power of digital India as an enabler of employment, entrepreneurship, and empowerment. On the occasion of celebration of 5 years of Digital India program, the Honorable Union Minister spoke about the positive impact of India's digital transformation journey in all aspects of the lives of Indian citizens, even during the times of the pandemic. He highlighted how Digital India's achievements are a result of united efforts of central and state governments, industry, and academia, all coming together as a part of Team India. And this program, sir, which is representative of the national character, precisely contributes to that cause. I would also like to draw the attention of the audience to a recent news item widely quoted in the media as a model to adopt, where the COVID-19 cases in Varanasi district have come down from 40% to 4% in just about a month through initiatives that leverage the power and popularity of common service centers. This news item was all over media, including Hindustan Times and other media, both online and print media. It's important that such success stories are documented and propagated as case studies, which I hope our cohort would do. I'm confident, sir, this cohort as ambassadors of this path-breaking program, coming from different central and state ministries and departments and digitally oriented organizations from across India, will accordingly enlarge the footprint and deepen the impact of Digital India towards building a new India as exhorted by our Honorable PM and the Honorable Union Minister. On behalf of the IIMB family, I extend once again a hearty and special welcome to all the new participants and wish them an engaging, exciting, educative, experiential, enriching, and enjoyable learning experience at the Institute. They are achievers in their own right, with the average experience profile of the batch being close to 12 years. But as John F. Kennedy, the former president of the US, said, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. I thank their respective competent authorities for recognizing and appreciating the value add this program brings to their organizations and encouraging them to embark on this learning journey to emerge as champions of positive change. I can assure that the experience the participants gain here will be truly rich and rewarding. I look forward to Sri Sani ji attending the convocation function of the senior batch, which we propose to celebrate in a few months from now. Let me wish you, the new batch participants, success, and may your learning enhance and enrich the vibrancy and visibility, image and identity, prestige and popularity of not just this MBA program, but of the Digital India program as a whole. I thank all our stakeholders and well-wishers. Professor Sri Chakrapani ji is here, who has actually led the entire process of selecting the candidates. Many well-wishers like this who constitute this August gathering, albeit virtual. And I seek their blessings for the program growing from strength to strength. Thank you and Jai Hind. Over to you, Neena ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for highlighting the role digital technologies are playing, and hence all the more importance of a program like this in across areas. So I will now call upon Shri Abhishek Singh ji for his keynote address for today's event. Sir, please.
Thank you, Professor Pandey, and the chief guest for the launch of the second batch of the IIM Vizag program, MBA program in digital governance and management. Shri Ajay Sani, our secretary, MeitY, under whose leadership and guidance we are implementing all e-governance and digital India programs. The Professor Chandrasekhar, the director of IIM Vizag, who has been single-handedly pushing this program and ensuring that we are able to launch this in spite of the pandemic, in spite of several delays, in spite of making the program into an online mode instead of the hybrid model that we had planned initially. Distinguished members of the board of IIM Vizag, distinguished professors of IIM Vizag who are here today, experts of the program advisory committee, with whom we had a meeting only last week to discuss on the curriculum and the structure of the whole program, distinguished guests, and most importantly, the participants for the new batch who are joining this journey today. I welcome you all for this, for joining one of the most prestigious programs in the field of e-governance and digital governance, and welcome you to the family of e-governance, if I can use that phrase. On this occasion, when I was thinking about the launch of this program, and the last few days we have been working about like what kind of profile we should have for the people who are joining this program, my thoughts went back to 2006 when I had joined a similar program which was called e-governance champions program, which was started by National Institute of Smart Government, and it was launched in partnership with ISB Hyderabad. And that time, me and a few friends of us who had opted for that program, initially we were like wondering what e-governance is. And this we are talking of 2006 when the National E-Governance program was shaping up. That course was taught by J. Satyanarayana sir, along with practitioners about Bhumi project and other projects that were being taught. And that was the first exposure I had got about e-governance. And with that began my interest in the field of e-governance. And then we realized what all is required for a successful e-governance project and what are the ingredients that go in implementation of e-governance project. I still remember one slide from which Satyanarayana sir presented during the inaugural session of that program. And in that, he had a slide in which he talks about 4 pillars of e-governance. And he calls these 4 pillars as people, processes, technology, resources. And I have come across, like over the last so many years, I have felt that these 4 pillars are actually very critical for any IT or e-governance initiative that we undertake in government. And when we look at that over the last few years, I find the 2 pillars, the technology piece and the resources piece, are more or less sorted. Technology is like available, like we think of a problem and there will be a tech solution or a tech company or an entrepreneur or a startup who will have a solution for that. All kinds of technologies exist, from the ones that we are used to cloud, to machine learning, to emerging technologies, all kinds of technologies are available. That's no longer as big a challenge as it used to be. The resources part also, funding is also not a problem now. There is enough resources available across governments, across Government of India, across state governments for taking up e-governance projects. The two biggest challenges that we are grappling even today are people challenges and process challenges. By process, we primarily mean government process reengineering and how we make our processes simpler, better, amenable for IT adaptation. So, and the other challenge is, of course, having the right people in the right places. Today, also, when one issue that I have not been able to meet, one requirement that my secretary has from me, not being able to fill, is that I have not been able to fill the vacant positions that I have in Digital India, the vacant positions that we have in the National Governance E-Governance Division. That is because there is an acute shortage of resources who are trained in basic e-governance and digital governance management skills or project management skills, which exist not only in Government of India but across the states. So both these challenges, the government process reengineering challenge, which is very often a management challenge, very often a use of technology for solving real world problems, that and the people challenges of having the right people skilled in the e-governance tools and techniques. So these two challenges are being addressed by this very ambitious program that we launched last year on 6th of January. So all those who are joining, you are joining a mission or a project or an initiative which seeks to solve the basic problem that we have in the field of e-governance. And I am sure the knowledge and the skills that you will acquire over the next 4 semesters by going through all the courses that have been designed specifically for this course by the eminent professors of IIM and other experts will really help you in being able to play that role. And when we are looking at the profiles for selection of candidates this year, in fact, me and my team members, I was just asking one thing: will they be able to lead a e-governance project 3 years from now, 4 years from now? So what we are looking at is that there are hundreds of projects that are being implemented across the country. So those of you who have come from the government sector, your profile has been assessed in the basis of your ability to have the necessary vision and the necessary skills to lead a major project. Some of you will be leading the Umang project. Some of you will be leading the DigiLocker project. Some of you will be leading land records project. Some of you will be involved in the health project that we are implementing. So there is ample number of projects, and that is where this course fits in. This course will help you move up from your basic expertise that you have in government and administration, acquire the digital IT skills, and be prepared for implementing bigger, larger projects. Those of you who have joined in from the private sector, you also have a big opportunity, because it's not that the shortage of skilled people is there only in the government. There's a huge shortage of skilled people even in the private sector. When I talk to partners in consulting firms, whether they are PwC or a KPMG or Accenture or a EY or a Deloitte, they also are tackling this issue. They are also facing this problem. They also need people who understand not only technology, but who understand governance also. And that's where the value lies in this course. In fact, I have had several interactions with the first batch of students. I had several, like I would just have a VC call with them, especially because some of them were initially a bit disappointed because they were looking forward to an immersive mode of learning in which they will spend some part in Vizag, interact with professors, and some part online. But because the pandemic, since the entire course became online, they were a bit not very happy, because the advantage that one gets in learning with the professors around them and being on the campus or going to visiting projects or seeing how a project is being implemented somewhere, that has been unfortunately missing. But hopefully in the coming semester, in the final semester, if things shape up as sir was mentioning, if the cases come down, then we will be able to address that challenge also. So with that in mind, we have to plan it in that manner only. The one more thing that I would like to mention is that when we design, this was discussed in the program advisory committee meeting also, is that this program is a management course, a digital MBA in digital governance. So we have to kind of somehow structure the content of the courses and the pedagogy in such a way that we do a balance between teaching management skills and teaching digital governance skills. And when we look at digital governance, change management and adapting to a new way of working becomes very important. So that focus, of course, with the eminent professors there, I'm sure that will be there, and we look forward to interacting with the professors in this regard in the near future. The other thing that we need to do and we need to structure, and maybe we need to partner with IIM Vizag or other professors in this field, is to develop case studies. Because very often in government, a lot of projects are done, but we are not able to document a proper case study. Like, for example, even the Arogya Setu project last year was implemented. And it's actually a classic case on which a case study can be written on how the project was conceptualized, how it was implemented within 15 days, how it has led to an impact. So it can become a case study. And once we write a case study, then that case study, teaching on a case study method itself becomes a very good tool for learning. In fact, in my master's course at the Kennedy School, many courses were just case studies. And once you start with a case study, you get the protagonists, you get the people who have implemented that project to talk about it, explain more about it, and then you get to learn about it. So there are several case studies that are waiting to be developed. If you look at the vaccination program, the CoWIN platform, or if you look at the land records project that has been done, if you look at the BharatNet, the broadband project that has been implemented. So there are so many digital initiatives that have been done, the Passport Seva project. So every such project, if we are able to develop a case study in partnership with them, because very often the practitioners, the government officers who lead projects, they are very bad in documenting things. So if we can take help from the academic experts and join hands with the government practitioners and develop case studies, that will be a very good value add to the entire e-governance learning ecosystem. So with these words, I once again congratulate all the participants of this course. You are very lucky to have been chosen. NEGD and METI will be sponsoring 15 of you, and the investment that we are making is being made with an expectation that in a few years from now, many of you will join us or join the state government's IT departments and lead projects. So I look forward to, in fact, the last batch also, I have told them that I would want you to come and join NEGD, come and join METI. Even the private sector resources who are passing out from the first batch would be happy to take them on board in our team if they don't have offers already with them. So with these words, I congratulate the entire team of IIM Vizag, Professor Chandrasekhar, Professor Pandey, and Milan. All of you have been associated with that. And also my own team members, Vinay Thakur and Vinay Singh, who have been working very hard for the success of this program, and hope that we will be able to continue in the same spirit and ensure a successful second year of this course as we had done for the first batch. So congratulations once again, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the words that you said. And as we've already discussed in program advisory committee meeting, I in fact told Professor Chandrasekhar that it went really well because of the inputs that you have given about case studies. As faculty, we are always looking for places where we can write case studies. So yes, we are definitely working on that. And the BPR part of it, yes, we are very closely working on that. So thank you for taking so much interest and helping us improve the program. I will now request our chief guest for the day, Shri Ajay Sahni ji, for the inaugural address.
Thank you, Professor Meena Pandey. A very good evening to Professor Chandrasekhar, Director IIM Vizag, who has been untiringly following up on every aspect of this program right from the beginning of the first course, and also in spite of all the difficulties, bringing it to this stage. The professors who are associated, Professor Meena Pandey, Professor Milan Kumar, many other eminent professors who are associated within the Indian Institute of Management, Professor Krishnamurthy, and other eminent professors who are associated from other institutions, the chair and Abhishek Singh, and of course the members of the program advisory committee who are there along with him in the PSC, the members from NEGD who are helping with this program, helping us shape this program, Vinay Thakur, Vinay Singh and others, officers from Ministry of Electronics and IT, the dignitaries from CII and AP Chamber of Commerce who are there. A very special word for Sri D. Chakrapani. He was the collector and district magistrate in Nizamabad district when I was joint collector, and really enjoyed working with him. Wonderful to see him here. And of course, the participants who are participants from um, this batch, which is starting today. I think it's a I have gone through the names, I have gone through some of the profiles. It's a wonderful selection, and congratulations to all the participants to begin with. It's wonderful to be with all of you on this occasion. This, in a sense, is the flagship e-governance program in the country. And it combines technology, it combines public policy, it combines governance, it combines general management, technology management, and many other aspects of management. So it's a very beautifully architected program. It's a very nicely designed program. It's a program for this decade. This is not a program that you would have come across 3 decades ago, or 2 decades ago, or even a decade ago. It actually builds upon many things that have happened earlier. And I would like to, in particular, mention the kind of guidance we have received in shaping these programs from stalwarts like Shri J. Satyanarayana, who initiated the CIO's program. That was long ago, I think early 2000s. And then the CIO program, the e-champion program, where the central government got involved. And then the eGov leadership program. And then, this program is sort of following up, and not just following up, but innovating and establishing absolutely new methods and benchmarks in combining all of these skill sets that are required today. The pandemic has given us, a tremendous. It's shaken us up. When I was present at the launch of the first program, it was January 2020. And we just had no idea as to what is going to hit us. And it's hit us actually not once, but really at least twice. The first round taught us a lot. It taught us the value of continuity, of being able to maintain systems, of being able to continue with some key aspects of the economy, even in the face of very major challenges. We were able to do reasonably well. The IT industry was kept working. They quickly moved to working from their homes. At one stage, 97 to 98% of the people in our huge IT industry, whose clients are not just in India, they're across the globe, they were working from their homes. And yet we were able to maintain levels of service, level of quality for very demanding clients across the globe. In electronics manufacturing, we were actually able to make significant breakthroughs. We were able to get some of the biggest names right in the middle of the pandemic. In April, we had announced some new programs. In June and July, we got new applications, and then August onwards. In September, we were able to sort of, reach out to the selected entities to get started with manufacturing. And huge manufacturing has come in right in the face of the pandemic, right in the middle of the pandemic. The government also was able to sort of quickly switch to e-enabled mode of working. The institutions like IIMs, IITs also were able to sort of adapt to the new requirements. A very unprecedented situation could still be sort of managed, and we could still continue with some of the very important activities. The second wave has, of course, caught us on the wrong foot in some ways. The virulence, the sheer pace with which it has spread, and the spread last time was more in the urban areas. This time, I think it has gone all the way down to the rural areas. But there are huge learnings for us. And one of those learnings is that technology is definitely a part of the solution. Whatever be the problem, whatever be the direction from which a problem comes and hits you, correct use of technology, appropriate use of technology, timely use of technology is definitely a very significant part of the solution. If today we have issues in health, public health, in health infrastructure, in other sectors as well, one of the key ingredients that you will all be called upon to use in response would be how can you leverage technology? How can you leverage not just the old and existing technologies, the new kids on the block? How can you leverage AI? How can you actually get something seriously concrete from data analytics? What can you derive from that? How can you improve the effectiveness of your program? How can you improve the effectiveness of your program design, of your communication with all the stakeholders in the program, with all the users in the program making use of artificial intelligence? The other technologies that are coming in, 5G is, in fact, we don't have to wait for 5G. 4G itself has been a miracle for us. It's gone to every part of the country, every nook and corner of the country. You go to remote places in Arunachal Pradesh and you'll be surprised to find that the one thing that works there is a mobile phone. And it's a miracle, because in when we started these initial programs, there was no inkling that we would actually get to that stage. And hopefully in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, we should get to homes with fiber. That next generation of connectivity is also well on its way. And that again can be leveraged hugely in whatever we do. The IoT itself is going to be something that it's a game changer. Many a time I compare the magic of IoT to how we are able to unlock exponentials with the help of IoT. We are all familiar with something called Moore's law, where we have expected to see growth, change on an exponential scale, and that has continued for more than 4 to 5 decades. And yet things in the outside the virtual world still continue to move at a normal pace of growth of the economy. A 5% change or a 10%, 6% change, 7-8% change. If the GDP grows by 7% plus, we are so excited. If a company in a sector, economy in a sector grows at more than 10%, we are delighted, thrilled with that. If a particular company grows at 15 to 20%, we are absolutely, we feel that it's a fabulous company to be in. But imagine areas which have grown at an exponential pace, doubling roughly every 2 years, growing at 40% compounded year on year. Now, what IoT does is that it brings technology into things all around us, into everything that surrounds us, in our homes, in our factories, in our vehicles, in almost in factories, wherever we live and work. I think IoT is a game changer once again. So these are, it's something which brings the exponentials out of the virtual world and into the real world for us. Excuse me. It brings the exponentials out, and I'm sorry, there was a call. I had to just close that phone. So this is yet another technology which is now playing out, and along with this, join other very exciting technologies like blockchain, AR and VR, additive manufacturing, the advancements in geospatial technologies, advancements in cloud and social media and peer-to-peer kind of technologies. So these are all increasingly becoming available to us. It's not just software programming. It's not just the tools that were available a decade ago. These are complete new tools that are getting added to our arsenal day in and day out. And each one of them can have a remarkable and a disruptive impact. But when we combine them with what we already know, when we add it to our learnings, then we get the ability to solve problems which could simply not have been possible to solve a decade ago or even 5 years ago. One simple example that I would like to mention is that of language technologies. In India, we are very close to all of Europe. In fact, we are probably far more complex than all of Europe put together in terms of the languages, dialects that we use. And an illiterate person in West Bengal simply cannot dream of being able to communicate well with an illiterate person in Kerala or in many other parts of the country. But we don't even have, all of us don't have a single language that we share. Big data, speech recognition, natural language processing, and many other technologies combined with wonderful internet, which actually connects all of us, makes it possible for us to dream of a time when we can enable a real-time conversation between an illiterate grandmother who speaks in Bengali and an illiterate grandmother who speaks in Kannada. This was simply impossible. It could not be imagined at all. This is now where our dreams can take us when we recognize what technology can do. How do we apply technology, all of these technologies, along with life sciences, along with materials, new materials? How do we apply them to problems that we encounter day in and day out? How do we apply them to governance? How do we not just follow some of the prominent economies in this area? How do we establish a lead? How do we bring in innovation? How do we establish strength? How do we establish positions of strength in all of these areas? I think that is the challenge that we look at today. And this program in many, many ways is designed to help you do exactly that. To understand in a systematic manner, to analyze the problems that we encounter, to analyze the situation in any sector or anything that you are handling, to learn from what the veterans, what the pioneers have done in this area. There are significant achievements, and yet there is so much more to achieve. So this is the arena into which you are all walking in. And this is where the program can actually help you to not just understand the issues, understand what kind of designs have already become well established, but to bring in new technologies, new ideas, and new ways of doing work to find new kinds of solutions. In India, because of our huge size, spread, and disparity in the economic sense or in geographical sense, across many states, across many regions, across urban and rural areas, there is all the more need to make use of technology to bridge the divide, to ensure that whatever we do remains completely inclusive. The common service centers, use of language technologies, digital literacy for everyone, all of these are aspects that go into helping us ensure that whatever we do, it remains inclusive. This time around, we also have the growing strength in electronics. For many decades, those of us who have been dabbling with information technologies used to lament that India has software, but what about hardware? India doesn't have hardware. India doesn't have manufacturing. I think we are on the way to changing that. Electronics is very much an area of strength that we are growing. It's growing rapidly. Before the pandemic hit us, 5 years till 2020, till April 2020, March 2020, we grew at a compounded annual rate of growth of more than 23% year on year for the past 5 years. Even during the pandemic, we have been growing. We have not gone down. We are continuing and we are growing. Of course, not at the same pace. But over the next 5 years, we expect to step up the pace and grow at a compounded annual rate of more than 25% year on year on a much larger pace. So this time around, when we create new solutions, we don't have to remain confined to only software solutions. We can increasingly combine devices, we can combine sensors, and we can actually make them, shape them, design them, and make them here ourselves. Some of the startups that Professor Chandrasekhar has mentioned about have been focusing on exactly that. We are seeing more and more startups emerge in India, which combine our existing strengths of software with new strengths of design and the ability to fabricate not just prototypes, but take them even into manufacturing. We are seeing startups emerge even in an unlikely area like robotics. And some of these are fabulous companies. They are growing to be amazing companies. So this time around, we should be able to make use of combination of technologies to tackle whatever we encounter. I would also like to mention that finally, one point which all of you will necessarily have to focus on is the delivery of services, the availability of services to every Indian, every citizen, every resident of the country. And starting with services from the government, but not stopping with services only from the government. Now, let me elaborate that. Government is a natural monopoly. If you are born in India, and all of you are born in India, then your government, and if you are here living in India as a citizen, you don't have a choice. Your government, your central government is the government of India. If you are in Andhra Pradesh, your state government is the government of Andhra Pradesh. You can't be in Visakhapatnam and be a long-term resident of Visakhapatnam and say, no, my state government of choice is government of Rajasthan, so I am going to be governed by them. You are not. You are going to be governed by the government of the area you are in. You are going to be governed by Visakhapatnam Municipal Corporation. So government is a natural monopoly. And the services that monopolies provide tend to be not as good, not because there is no competition, not as quick to innovate, not as responsive to the users as services that we see in a competitive world. What e-governance and technology gives us really is the ability to reshape this monopoly, to bust the silos, and to re-architect things in such a way that while the back-end service still comes from a monopolistic entity, a department, the front end can still be a competitive front end. There can be not just a single window where citizens and businesses can find all the services they require. There can be multiple single windows that bring a combination of all kinds of services. And there can be competing single windows, competing multiple single windows in front. Those could be by way of competing franchisees or different ways of reaching out with the same service, combining a service with others, adding value, involving public-private partners to roll out the services, and to do so in a manner that remains competitive. Even while the back end is a monopoly, the front end doesn't have to be a monopoly. This is one truth or one goal that I hope will remain very clear to you till we are able to actually make such a deep impact that it's no longer required. That all the services that are available from not just government become available in a competitive manner, become available in a convenient manner, and keep innovating and competing for your customership. So this is the magic that we are able to do with technology, and the new technologies give us that much more of methods and tools to accomplish this. So in Abhishek has actually spoken very nicely about the earlier programs that we have done. E-governance and digital governance and management is a very enticing domain. I'll just go back into my reflections and compare it with, you might be familiar with a song called Hotel California by Eagles. You can come in any time of the year and you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. People who come in actually find it so interesting and so exciting that we have seen that most of the people that come into this arena of managing technology, of harnessing technology, especially when they do it to a domain like governance, it's such an exciting area that you find new things to do every day. You find new things to do in every posting. And you build on your ability to use technologies effectively as you move forward. So I would like to wish all of you not just a very exciting time in this program, but a very exciting time beyond that, in making use of what you learn in this program and in becoming the leaders that India requires, who will help harness each one of the technologies, the magic of each of the technologies, and bring it to all of us and all of our fellow citizens. Wish you all the best and a very warm welcome to this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very, very enlightening talk. I remember last time also there was when you spoke in presence of, when we were all together, there were very, very important points to take away. In fact, that made me change something in the program structure. A specific course that we brought in was digital platforms. It was there, but we expanded it quite a lot after your talk. So yeah, and thank you so much for your talk and for saying kind words about the program and for being interested enough to give us inputs to how to improve the program. Thank you. I will now go ahead and I will just mention two important changes that we have done in the program since last time that we had we met for the first year, the inauguration of the first batch. So the program was initially conceptualized as an 18-month program, and hence we were having 4 terms. After that, based on a notification which Ministry of Education made that all degree granting programs should be 2-year programs. So we have changed the structure a little bit so that it gets expanded to a 2-year program and we will not have any issues there. So we have now changed the terms into semesters, which go on for about 4.5 months. That is one. And the second thing, as everyone knows, that COVID has led us to changing the whole blended learning has moved to online. We know students aren't happy about it. We are also, trust us, we are also absolutely not happy about it. We would really like to have students here. We have already run, when the situation was good in February and March, we have run surveys among students of who would like to come here and attend, but nobody, I mean, most of them weren't very comfortable. So we dropped those plans, but we would like to have students at IIM Visakhapatnam campus as soon as possible. So I will, so yeah, that is about the change in program that has happened since last that we met. Here now I will also announce the semester-wise batch toppers. For only when we will have the convocation, we will talk about the director merit list. But for now, because we are already done with 2 semesters, so I will announce the semester-wise batch toppers, and I will just request all the attendees to give them a round of applause. Although I am mentioning only 2 names, I'll just add a disclaimer here that the difference between the GPAs of top 3 candidates have usually been 0.01 and 0.03. So even though I am naming only one person, all the students have been working really hard and getting quite good grades. So that's a disclaimer. Nitish Singla with a GPA of 3.67 was the class topper for semester 1, and Shena Agarwal was the class topper in semester 2 with the GPA of 3.8. So let us clap for them. Okay, sir. So I will now give out a vote of thanks, and then I will leave it to Professor Chandrasekhar to close the program. So thank you, Shri Sahni ji and Shri Singh ji, for gracing the occasion today and taking out time to present your thoughts regarding the program and your support that you have been giving throughout for the last 2 years. I would like to thank the board of IIM Visakhapatnam for their active support in whatever we try to do. Thank you, Professor Chandrasekhar. This I'm telling only from the program perspective, for always being there for absolutely anything that we needed. I would like to thank our program advisory committee members and expert faculty members who are connected with the program, who have taken time to be present today with us. Thank you, Professor Milan and the admissions team for your extensive work throughout the admission process, which had to go on a little longer this time. We also have with us, as Professor Chandrasekhar earlier mentioned, the interview committee, who have been helping us with the onerous task of selecting the right set of candidates for the program. Thank you, sirs, for your involvement all through. A big thank you to the PGP DGM committee members, the internal committee that we have, for the regular and active discussions and helping with the finer details around the program. Thanks to the faculty members of IIM Visakhapatnam for their continued support and enthusiasm. To Ms. Devushri in the PGP DGM office for the excellent administration of the program. And finally, to all the administration staff of our institute, in particular the IT team of IIM Visakhapatnam, who have not only managed the logistics around the program today, but have been helping us in conducting these sessions, regular sessions, because everything has moved online, huge infrastructure requirements, which we have created within the institute, and all the online hardware, software requirements they have been managing. Thank you so much. So yes, we now close the inaugural program. Professor Chandrasekhar will say a few words. Thank you all for gracing the occasion with your presence today. And I will end my part by hoping and praying that the conditions in country get better soon, and which will enable us to meet each other in person as soon as possible. Just one request after Professor Chandrasekhar would say last few words. Please put your video on, all of you, for a short while, so that we take a picture for us to keep, because we cannot meet together and have it. Please put your video on. We will remind you at the end of it. So.
No, thanks, Professor Neena. No, I have only to reinforce what you have said by way of gratitude to Shri Sahni ji and Shri Abhishek Singh, because they have always been there throughout, right from the conceptualization of the program and commissioning it, and then kind of shepherding it successfully over the past 1 year plus. At that we have now come to the stage of launching the second batch of the program successfully. And as they have rightly mentioned, despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, we have been able to fairly kind of deal with them, negotiate these challenges, and are in a position today to move forward. And I would only like to say that I continue to, we as the institute, as the program committee members, we continue to look up to them for their continued guidance and mentorship to take this program to newer heights of excellence. And I'm sure the participants would take all the guidance that the program advisory committee would give them, and the words of wisdom that Sri Saniji has shared today. And we will capture the points emerging from the address of the chief guest and Sri Abhishek Singh Ji as points which we will circulate to our program members, particularly the points about case studies being developed. And sirs, we have also, in the last time, I've also said that each of the participants can develop case studies, like the Secretary Sir has said, that with a mentor from their organizations and a mentor from the institute here. And I said we will actually incentivize them. We will announce prizes for the best case studies which are developed. And that way we will build a repository of Indian case studies suited to Indian conditions in India and suited to our conditions in India. And this can help the programs successively over the years. So I repeat that to both the old batch and the fresh batch, that please do whatever you do in terms of digital transformation projects, as our two, the chief guest and the guest of honor have said, please do look around and examine how it could be, how the learning could be captured and converted into a meaningful case study. And as Nina would have had, I think, mentioned, we have also introduced a course called academic writing into the program, so that they are able to write well, articulate well, and the institute is always there to help them. So our strong appeal to all these students is, do look around and develop good case studies. In fact, whatever expenses are to be incurred in developing these case studies, the institute would be glad to kind of provide that subvention to them, and they can jointly prepare these case studies, and we will try to get them published in some of the well-known repositories, and we will also incentivize the students for the good case studies developed. So that is that's all by way of kind of drawing upon what our chief guest has said. And I would once again like to thank everyone present here for their august presence here, and also for their thoughts and various kinds of inputs that they had shared throughout the 1.5 years of the program. Nina, if I just take 1 minute, and we have mementos for the chief guest and Sri Abhishek Singh Sir, Ajay Sani Sir. I would like to present to you this Eastern art memento to you. Thank you so much. And we will have it sent across to you, sir, by courier. This is a special, I mean, you are from AP, you would know. So, but this is a special art from this part of the country, and I'm sure you would love it, sir.
Yes.
Will we get NFTs for them?
Pardon me, sir.
Will we get a non-functional token for them?
And this is the same memento. I would like to present it to Sri Abhishek Singh Ji. We will have it sent across to your office.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all your support.
Maybe we should have digital art now.
Yeah, that's all from my side, Nina. So you can.
Yes, sir. I'll just request everyone to please put your video on for just a few seconds, so that. Kamal, are you around? Can you please take a picture?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Sai, you also take. I must take.
Is it done, Kamal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
I would like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Raghuram, our member on the board, former director of IIM Bangalore. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will close the meeting now. Thank you.
Company.
Thank you.